Welcome back to Ground Zero Salem. As always, I am your host, Pat Wilding. Patrick M. Wilding. We are listening to Hail of Rage, great 90s speed thrash, hardcore kind of stuff. More hardcore verging on grind, I'd say. I actually picked this up for cheap on Discogs recently because as part of the grind pile, which I'll be diving into, I got this 7-inch, fucking pissed, and I liked it so much I wanted to pick up a discography. Kind of weird. This is a hardcore band from grind hardcore, whatever, from Connecticut. This CD mixes up all the tracks from this in a different order with a split and a few rehearsal recordings. I don't know exactly why they did it. I don't know why you wouldn't want to preserve the original playing order of the releases, but this is my first spin through, so who knows. So far it sounds great. So, yeah, great record. As you can probably hear in the background, just blasting, pissed hardcore. When they slow it down into, like, kind of punkish parts, it's almost a little bit more reminiscent of Boston Crustgrind Disrupt, I feel. It came out on Enemy Records from Germany. Comes on this cool, like, custard yellow, opaque vinyl. Just, there's the insert there. Pretty cool. So yeah, I still have this huge stack of 7-inches that was part of that score from Jason's house. I've been just kind of pawing through them. There's some pretty interesting stuff in there. I'm not sure how well of a description I'm going to give to some of these because it's all grind, and I don't know if my adjective arsenal is enough to really give you enough variation, but I'm going to give it a shot. On top of the pile here, we have Pre-Human Blasphemy. This is actually pretty unique sounding. It's from California. Definitely that sort of power violence grind sound, and it has that distinctive Eric Wood, Man is the Bastard, kind of noodly bass. Spaz did it a bit too, but the bass kind of leads off and does its own thing under all the blasting and insanity. One thing that, probably the most noteworthy thing about this release is the packaging. I have to be super ginger about this because this was released by a Japanese label called Denied a Custom, and there is so much stuff in here that I just don't want to lose it all. First off, let's just take a look at the envelope there. That's crazy. That's a bunch of stamping and those little manga characters there. Then there's like a whole bunch of inserts. And some are just, you know, this is just one advertising some of the bands on there. Goat Shanty, Malefaction, Death Between Seasons. Whole bunch of Death Between Seasons stuff. They were a cool band from Rochester. I have one of their 7-inches and it's great. Then you get into whatever the hell that is all about. Revolution Barcodes. I guess it's a slam against Revelation, whatever. These weird anime things. Are you into metal now? Have you ever been into metal? We know you hate ska. Innovative shit. Then this one with they're almost like playing cards. I don't know. Different subcultures. One guy with a mohawk, I'm going to enjoy my status as a loser. Pursuit of Lovely Sound. I don't know, maybe he's spitting the green mist. Mr. Fuji or something. Yeah, it's just all these little photocopied scraps of paper. Give it a rest. Welcome to Fantasy World. Let's enjoy. So yeah, really interesting label. I think I have that record on Denied a Custom that Death Between Seasons put out, and it wasn't nearly the amount of weird stuff in the packaging. This tiny little thing is also in there. I don't know. It's crazy packaging. Surprised I've never heard of this band. The music is really, really good. Power violence kind of stuff with that cool bass playing. But yeah, just a lot to look at there. Very interesting. Then we have this one, Bone Erosion and Infamy. Typical kind of grind record. Both bands are kind of on the punkish side. won't go into it too much because I got a lot to show, but it's a good record. I like the bone erosion stuff a little bit more. I remember them being pretty good. This came out, I don't know what. Our Americo Martin Dos Elephant Records, it looks like it says. Yeah, Elephant Records. Both these bands are Brazilian, it would appear. They're good. It's good stuff. Good, solid, more to the punkish side of grind. See it in the wild, pick it up. And this one's a personal favorite of mine. Intestinal Infection. When I saw this, I was like, oh yes, I don't even know what's going on here. There's the guys. They're hanging out around or in a toilet. This guy's pondering probably why he's in a toilet. This guy has like death metal back patches sewn on his pants. It's pretty cool. Tucked in sinister shirt. Fucking awesome. The music is the most horrible shit I've ever heard in my life. Kind of in a cool way, kind of not. If you remember, if any of you guys out there remember the first time you ever heard Scum by Napalm Death, and it just kind of sounded like a bunch of animals fighting in a blender. And then after repeated listens, you can tell there's some structure, some tension building with the slow parts, but the recording is raw. The yelling, Lee Dorian's yell grunting is takes a little getting used to. But underneath it, there's a method to the madness. Intestinal Infection is just basically all that without anything memorable, and the recording is horrible. But I mean, they're hanging out around a toilet, so I'm sure they give no fucks. The band on the other side, Borstel's Reich, both these bands are German, by the way, are actually really good. Very tight, metal tinged, grind, hardcore kind of stuff. They're great. Interesting center labels, I guess, sort of. Just on black vinyl, but... Ooh, kiss the cook. So, yeah, pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, I would probably not buy this if I saw this at Armageddon or something, just by the awful cover art. Or maybe I would if it was a buck. But, yeah, the Borstel's Reich stuff is pretty good. Speaking noisy, blown out, and almost impossible to listen to, there's Entrails Massacre. They're split with Manifest. This is pretty good too. Entrails Massacre is blown out as fuck. Maxed out sounding like cheap microphone kind of vocals. Super harsh. Manifest is a little bit more on the tighter hardcore side of grind. This came out on some label that releases grindcore bands on 7-inch. Scrotum Records from Germany. Oh, Scrotum. Yeah, Manifest, Entrails Massacre. Then we got it. This is a band sent me down memory lane. I used to have I think a 12-inch or maybe a 10-inch of theirs. Autophobia. This is excellent American hardcore grind kind of stuff from Atlanta. They did the sample thing, the kind of goofy sample thing like Spaz did. Theirs are really funny. There's just some great riffs in this. Every song, I mean, all the songs are short. None of these are over a minute, I don't think. One of them is over a minute. And there's 16 songs on the record. But they all have their own individual kind of thing, you know? They all have, you know, some have a really good, slow, metallic riff. Some are all blasting. You know, there's a few that are over in a blink. Track 10, Paul is over in 7 seconds. This came out on Reactionary from Atlanta, Georgia. I feel like these guys have some connection to Mastodon. I don't know if it was members went on to, or maybe members went on to another band that had guys from ended up in Mastodon or something. I might be totally wrong. But yeah, there's the inside. Reactionary Records. And there's a little kind of cool rice paper thin kind of insert. I don't know any of these bands that are on here. The Cavity Demod split. That was a great one. But yeah, none of the other bands I've heard of. It sounds like they're mostly bands from the South. Bands from Hotlanta. We got some great Australian pissed hardcore here. I was stoked when I saw this. Nailed Down. Might Is Right. Quick 7-inch. I mean, the songs are short, and there's only 4 songs on it. But, I mean, if you want just throaty, fast, angry hardcore about as fast as it gets before turning into something in the extreme genre, this is a good way to go. I can see where the great Australian hardcore band Extortion maybe got a lot of their inspiration from. Plus, if you like the faster material by Voorhees from England, of course Infest, like that kind of shit, I would point you towards Nailed Down. Fucking great band. This came out on Power It Up Records. We've got another ad insert there. Let's see. Dystopia, Ambush, cool insert. Wormwood, who the Requiescat. I butchered the pronunciation of that, but that Wormwood record's awesome. This is just on black. Got those nice cut corners though for the envelope there. There's the inside. Interesting, weird, kind of thin paper, brown paper. But yeah, ripping fucking Australian hardcore, Aussie shit. Crippled Bastards. This is a band. I hate when that happens. This is a band I got into really early on, discovering a lot of grind and crust stuff as I was sort of transitioning out of listening to predominantly street punk kind of shit, which was weird because it came after me being obsessed with death metal. I kind of found my way back around to brutal sounds, maybe in my late teens, early 20s. But I made a huge order from Sound Idea Records, which is no more. It was run by this guy, Bob Surin, down in Florida. Ordered over the phone with my mom's credit card with her permission. Got it like $100 for my birthday. And I got a Crippled Bastards split 10-inch with a band called Patarini, which was really raw. This is quite a few more years, I think, down the line in their progression, if you want to call it that. But yeah, super raw grind from Italy. Probably a lot of you out there are familiar. It's awesome grindcore. You know, it's not really of the carcass worshipping variety, nor is it on the crustier side of like heavily discharge or disrupt influenced. It's kind of its own thing. It's really good. World is really good too. Nothing is really striking me as particularly memorable about them or anything like that. Just a really good grindcore band, kind of political. But there's also a great. This came out on. I'm not sure. Nat Records, whatever that is. There's the insert. Some lyrics for you. This is a great. It's got a great big lyric sheet with the vocalist from Crippled Bastards kind of explaining his lyrics. I think he was under a lot of fire from people from the hard left within the DIY scene about, you know, stuff on their album covers and stuff like that. And he really lets people have it with his opinions, and he's a pretty smart guy. You know, I don't particularly agree with either side of the argument, but it looks like the band Active Minds was going out of their way to talk a bunch of shit about Carcass and about the gore scene and calling Carcass jocks and just not getting it at all, not getting the whole Carcass were making a point about vegetarianism with the gore on the record covers. But anyway, the whole thing has gone into pretty good detail. So interesting. Cool that the dude's got a brain. But yeah, a lot of stuff in here. This is for the world side of the split. This is a big poster. It's cool. Black vinyl. There's a center and labels with that spiral there. Then we have a great one right here. I was also very happy about this. Hell Nation's a band I haven't listened to in a long time, but they have held up. Very similar to Drop Dead. A lot of blasting rhythms, but hardcore riff styles, real fast. Simpler, kind of 3-chord. Their drummer sings, which is really impressive. I actually got to see these guys in England once, and they killed it. Screechy high vocals, great stuff. Political, left-leaning, of course. Merda, who are from Brazil or Spain, I believe. Female-fronted, faster, kind of hardcore. Also really good. But yeah, big ol' inserts again. Outlaw thrash. There's Merda. Where is Merda from? Lyrics are in Spanish. It's not in front of me right now. I'm not gonna dig for this and bore you guys, but yeah, cool. Female-fronted, blasty, thrashy kind of hardcore stuff with a little bit more of a punk edge. I got a coverless Phobia record, so I'm not really going to get into that too much, but this is like early Earlier Phobia, I think maybe right after they left Relapse. This is on Slap-a-Ham. I can't remember if it came before or after Means of Existence, but it's Phobia, in my opinion, at their best, and they have done a lot of good stuff over the years. I've been getting back into them lately, and I'm going to do a whole other update about their semi-discography box set, but it will run long as fuck if I do that now. This is a Canadian split on Schizophrenic Records. Bomb Strike and Legion 666. Legion 666 changed their name from Legion. I'm sure there was a bazillion other bands called Legion. I'm sure a cursory search of metal archives will reveal that there's like 9,000 of them. This is pretty good. Legion 666, you can tell it's kind of punk dudes that are into death metal, kind of doing their own take on death metal. It's kind of like a fast, sloppy, maybe a little bit D-beat, thrashy kind of take on satanic death metal, and it's good. Bomb Strike is D-beat. Pretty formidable, workman-like D-beat. This label's cool. They released a lot of good stuff. They did a vinyl reissue of the I Thrash, Therefore I Am comp that had a lot of great Scandinavian D-beat kind of punk bands on it. They did a great re-release of the Sons of Ishmael record, the Hayseed Hardcore, which was, I believe, another Canadian, older, fast hardcore band from the early 80s. All kinds of stuff in here again. You got the Legion and Bomb Strike. That's how I knew it was the other Legion. I was like, oh yeah, I used to have that 7-inch. I thought I still did, and I went looking for it, and I don't anymore, which is a bummer, because it's good. Fast and loose, punks playing death metal kind of stuff. Center labels, Schizophrenic Records. They put out a lot of other stuff, too, that's really good. They put out a fucked up live 12-inch, I think. Jason tossed me one of these. This is the first Bones Brigade 7-inch. It's going to be given out at his birthday, it looks like, which is next month. Can't wait for that. It's going to be a good time. Great band. Great band that played in the early 2000s. There was a lot of like skater punk revival at the time, and it was just the beginning of the crossover revival with The Waste and Toxic Holocaust, and this felt somewhere in between in terms of what it was inspired by, but I think this band was way better than most of the other shit back then as far as like the thrash revival stuff. They could play their asses off, for one thing. The lyrics were even though they weren't, about typical metal kind of topics, they were very genuine and real. It was no, mutants and pizza type of shit. And just blazing fast, tight as a drum stuff. They have a couple of full lengths. I Hate Myself When I'm Not Skateboarding was their first one, and I think Focus was their second one. But great stuff. I mean, no insert in this, just a special edition. Like vinyl. Cool. Bones Brigade on the center label there. Yeah, great fucking band. I know they changed, a couple of the members went on to be in kind of a stoner rock band called Coctopus after this. Andrew, the singer on this, went on to be in a bunch of bands, including Cut the Shit, who were pretty good, and Even Keel, who were only around for a minute, but I really like that band a lot. This is a classic 90s fastcore split here. Seeing Red and Obstand. Obstand are grindy, fast hardcore. Very political, super good. I say super good so much. Excellent band. Seeing Red were pretty serious alumni. It was like a couple of guys from Lairm. Lairm were part of the Network of Friends, which was a group of bands involving Heresy, Ripcord, a bunch of other ones. And they were a huge early influence on Napalm Death. They were very, very noisy, raw, early 80s hardcore, and they were like hardline left political, like almost communist, but they dressed like Suicidal Tendencies, because Europe's a weird place. A few years down the line, towards the end of the 80s into the 90s, Seeing Red was formed, and they were just a much tighter, more cohesive take on basically what Lairm was doing. Great record. I feel like Seeing Red as a band I don't need more than a split of. I actually have a 7-inch or a CD of their discography, or the first half of their discography that was part of this whole haul. And surprisingly their early stuff is kind of slower and kind of reminds me of like early Fugazi, and then they start speeding it up. But I could just be happy with listening to this all the time and nothing else. Good band. I got the Decrepitaph Humiliation split. Decrepitaph is great ancient death metal. This is a practice or rehearsal recording, and it sounds awesome. It sounds perfect. Of course, we have Wayne, who all this came from, who went on to play drums in Father Befouled. I believe the band on the flip, Humiliation, is from Malaysia. And Humiliation, look at these guys, for one thing. All camo pants with boots, and just like an excellent selection of band logo t-shirts. But just on point shit. It sounds like bolt thrower worship, and it's awesome. This, I can't read the record label. My eyes are going. It's on green. Yeah, I don't know the record label off the top of my head. It's too hard to read. What are you gonna do? Outbreak of Evil 3. This came out on NWN. There's great bands on here. Graveworm, you know, they're pounding, punishing, slower brand of black metal. If you know what's good for you. Evil Angel are good. It's more venomy, you know, Motorheadish, satanic, speed metal kind of stuff. Nailgunner are really, really good. Along the same lines. Most of these, except for Graveworm, are basically like Venom, Sabbath kind of stuff, and it's all good stuff. Nuclear War Now, black vinyl. Cool center labels. It's just on black, like I just said a second ago. There's the insert. Here's a fucking curveball for you. Negativeland. Odd soundscapes, sound clips, a lot of stuff kind of talking about being brainwashed through advertising, ad reps, and that kind of thing. Obviously doing something with a Pepsi logo and making it a yin-yang. This band got in some hot water for a bunch of copyright infringement with U2. They fucked with U2 pretty hard. I think they changed their name to U2 or named an album U2 or something like that. Definitely worth reading about if you Google it. I read it years ago, but I had friends that were into industrial and stuff that liked this band, and it's cool for a spin. I feel like they're a band that, like, sooner or later I'm gonna explore their shit a little bit more. But they do a lot of interesting manipulation of sound clips and stuff like that. Interesting, definitely a big difference. And then I got a bunch of records by one of my favorite grindcore bands that I've been trying to catch back up with. I had their discography CD years ago, from Montreal, I believe, Quebec somewhere anyway. Dahmer, incredible grindcore band, just some of the catchiest stuff in that genre that I've heard out of anything. There was another band from up there that was called Human Greed that were also very good. Dahmer kind of shared the same thing as Church of Misery and Macabre, completely obsessed with serial killers, if you couldn't judge that already by the name. Each of these are a split. We got a split with IRF, we got a split with Denac, and we got a split with Saturation. I've listened to all of them except for Saturation. None of these bands really stuck out to me that much. I remember Denac had some pretty good stuff, so I'm just going to stick to talking about Dahmer. They mixed it up between kind of carcassy vocals and music with like almost like something like spaz. Like they had the really quick tempo changes and the weird climb riffs like spaz had, and a little bit more just a traditional death metal influence in general. Very, very short songs. Great stuff. I never hear anybody talking about them. I definitely haven't seen any of their stuff shown on the VC by anybody into extreme metal or grind or anything, so if I can give them some love, I definitely will. Panzram, based on one of the scariest serial killers of all time, Carl Panzram. If you've read anything about that stuff, I certainly have. Darker Days. This is the Saturation split. I'm trying to see what these all came out on, all these tiny little private press labels. This came out on Spineless Records, the Panzram split. I don't know if there's much to show off there. Nah, very simple. Just, you know, typeface. This is Denac. I do like the Denac side with this scary wizard holding the globe and the little person bullfighter. Pretty interesting. Then we got the split with saturation. This is just a photocopied cover. The Denac split was like a kind of a glossy deal. This actually is glued on the back here, this photocopy. I always like little touches like that. I like super DIY shit. But yeah, again, pretty sparse, at least compared to that Denied a Custom shit. Holy God. Black vinyl. Yeah, I don't know. Listen. Sounds like Halo Rage got a little bit more melodic there. Anyways, and then we've got Dahmer's split with IRF, or maybe it's just IRF. I think it's IRF. We got of course, the iconic speed metal wheel there, and great, awesome pro wrestling cover here. I'm not even gonna try to guess. That looks like Bobby the Brain, but we know that I've made an idiot out of myself guessing wrestlers and getting it wrong, so I'm not going to go there. But, yeah, cool wrestling-related cover. And some naked ladies, I guess. This came on... also on Spineless. Cool purple. This looks like it could be a Seraphic Decay color, you know. They always use those pastel marbles or whatever. Nothing more brutal than pastel marble. Cool little card in there. What does this say? It's just an ad. Just an ad for all the records they've done. Here's the insert. Another wrestling theme there. Pretty cool. Oh, there's another thing behind it. Yeah, it's IRF, not IRF. So yeah, bit of a ramble here. A lot of stuff to show, but I've been itching to show it for a while. It's gonna give me endless hours of entertaining listening. So thanks once again to Jason, Hook, and Wayne. So that's cool. Yep, probably do an update in a couple days. Until then, thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. Thank you for commenting. And thank you for being you. Bye.